All right, so let's move on to part 4. So we are going to be trying to work on some more user stories, maybe some refactoring. The first thing I want to do is go through the to-do list and make sure there's nothing here that's like needs to be removed. Convert to TypeScript we've already done. Speed up reading potentially has been done. We still need to do this like rate limiting stuff. A user shall be able to specify an overall theme or style for a video. I think this is kind of done, but I would like to get a hard-coded set of themes. So that's the first thing we could probably do in this video. I'm going to go and say, right now a user can provide a theme prompt, but I want to specify 2 different optional arguments. A preset theme, which would have a list of existing themes like cartoon, anime, claymation, etc. Look up a bunch of common themes that we can use for generating a video so that we can use it when generating our videos. And then also allow an option for them to just type in a custom theme if they want to. And the code should just default to use one. You can't give both. If a user gives both, then just use their custom one. Okay, so that's the first thing I'd probably do. I'm going to do a plan for that one. But I would expect it to give us 2 options now. I'll kind of give it the leverage or the free way to kind of pick whatever it thinks is best for the naming of these arguments. But while this is planning, let's just go ahead and allow it to fetch. Over here, users should be able to pick a voice actor. This is another thing I want to do in this part 4 of the series. I'm going to go ahead and just paste this in. Add a configuration file that allows me to specify a hard-coded list of voice IDs that I've already created in 11 labs, and then also provide a label for these voice IDs and a description of these voice IDs, which allows me to basically specify which voice I want to use when creating these videos. When I run the script and I do not provide a voice ID, this is a required argument, and you should print out a table of all the voices that we have with their descriptions and their IDs, etc. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just run this. Actually, before I run this, I'm going to provide a couple of voice IDs. So let's go to voices on 11 labs. Let's go to my voices. I added a couple of voices here. I'm going to go ahead and just copy the voice ID here. Whisper horror. This sounds like this one.
They say the old house stands silent, watching.
Okay. So I'll just say like whisper voice. I'll paste in the voice ID, and then let's see.
Every night, the wind.
Yeah, I'll just say title, description, ID, and I'll paste that in. And so we're going to do a couple of these just so it has like something to start with.
They say some places they just hold on to things. Memories, shadows, echoes of what once was, and what once was in that old house.
Okay, stop. Let's go ahead and just select this description. What's this one? Adam Stone.
The people who are crazy enough to think they can change.
I know this part's boring, but I mean, this is it. This is what it's like to build out something. You got to spend some time actually doing stuff by hand.
We are all something, but none of us.
I might just grab this German voice. I find it funny. Title, German voice, or English with a German accent. Description, ID. All right, so I'm also going to say we no longer need to read the voice ID from the .env file. The .env file. All right, so I'll plan that one out. Let's go back to the theme selector, and we're going to just go ahead and like do a quick glance through of what this is doing. So we have a theme preset with an ID, or a theme with custom text. If theme is provided, use it. Otherwise, use a theme preset. Otherwise, null. Let me make sure if nothing is provided, does it actually fail? No theme, current behavior preserved. Yeah, I don't know what happens if you don't provide a theme. Maybe it just lets the model kind of do its thing. Verify if no theme at all is provided, that we just let the model do its default behavior. Okay, but the important part is we have a list of presets now. We have like Nor, Sketch, Origami. claymation, cinematic, realistic. So I think this would be pretty good. Let's just go ahead and build this one out. I think it's probably good enough now. And let's go back to the voice ID configuration and kind of read through that. So we have a voices JSON file, which has all of these voices we just kind of defined with their hard-coded IDs. And those will be loaded in when we do the generation of the voice. So if you look down here, data flow, parse arguments, resolve voice, voice ID, run options. Okay, let's just run this. I think it's going to be good enough. Now, I guess one thing I can kind of show you guys is I did do a little bit of playing around off the series. And I generated a bunch of different things. We added support for Vdoo, Vue, Wan, Kling, Grok. And I've been kind of going through these to see how they do. So far, Grok might be my favorite. It's not extremely expensive, but this is like the video that I generated. I can go ahead and play this for you guys if you're interested.
Welcome to our creepy crash course on zombies, the shambling legends of undead lore. In fiction, a pathogen curse or neurotoxin hijacks the brain's basic circuits, suppressing memory and emotion while preserving motor routines.
I have to play through the whole thing, but this one's pretty good in my opinion. I mean, like, some of the clips are kind of weird. Like this one starts with like bottles getting thrown at the zombie.
And sound. Bites spread the agent by saliva contact and distance barrier.
But yeah, Grok's pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty good. And there's also a cool, I guess we call it an arena. There's an image to video leaderboard, text to video leaderboard. We are using text to video, and if you go through here, there's a leaderboard here that tells people basically what are the best models. And Grok is like $4.20 a minute versus like all these others are a lot more expensive. Kling AI looks like it's the best out of all of them. But there's some other cool ones down here that you could probably try out. They're a little bit cheaper. I think WAN 2.5 is what I originally started this off with, but even this is kind of expensive and it's like at the bottom of the list in terms of quality. I think also providing a good prompt can help increase the quality too. Yeah, I think at this point, I just charged another $50 for credits for Foul AI so we can kind of do some experimentation. But I'm trying to be very cautious with like how much I just blindly prompt and generate these things because I don't want to burn through $50 in like a day. So yeah, we got these two plans basically set up. I'm going to go ahead and just try to run. I won't provide a model and see what happens. It should just kind of give us a nice description. So looking through here, we have, let's see, missing model. Oh, let me actually get rid of theme too. Where's theme? All right, so theme. Yeah, I don't think it's printing out. Let me go ahead and go back to the theme. Make sure that if a user does not provide a theme argument, it should. Well, let me think about this. Theme. I told it theme's not required. I think theme should be required. Can you actually make theme required? And if the user doesn't provide it when trying to run the generate command, it should actually print out a table of all the possible themes that you can use. I also don't see a voice ID. Like this should have printed a table of the voice IDs. I think that's also missing. When I run the generate command and I do not provide a voice ID, verify that it's required. And if it's not set, it should print out a table of all the voices and their descriptions in a table in the command line. Okay, so I think I did prompt it about doing this, but again, I'm using Composer 1.5, so sometimes it kind of like doesn't fully follow what you've asked it to. So let's just go ahead and try this out again. Yeah, it's still not printing out the voice. Let me go ahead and just do this. I'm still not seeing it print out a voice table. I'll just give it my full command that I'm sending in, and maybe it can debug as to what's going on. But also maybe it's because I didn't provide a proper model, so it's probably just failing fast. I want to make sure that if you don't provide something, does it print out the tables? Yeah, this looks pretty good. It's good enough right now, right? So let's go back and try to generate like a horror type of zombie thing. I'm going to say an educational video about volcanoes. Actually, yeah, I'll do volcanoes and how they work. And then let's say voice is, which voice do we want to use? Do this voice ID model. I will say Grok. Actually, I will go back to zombies. I think with his voice ID, it'd be better. I actually changed it to a scary story of a man lost in the woods who encounters a werewolf. Don't know why I typed that wrong. And then we could say duration. We'll just go ahead and give it like I'll just do 10 seconds to see how it does. Okay, so it should use our custom voice. Oh wait, it's failing for some reason. Did I not give a resolution? Oh, I didn't give it a theme. Theme, I will say realistic, cinematic, anime, cartoon. I'm gonna try watercolor. Let's see how this works. Okay, so that should be good. It's generating the script now. So yeah, overall, I mean, we have 2 new things that we can provide, and we can extend this list of themes later on, but I think this is a good set of themes. We have a decent amount of voices. I think adding some women voices could be good for videos. And you really have to think about like, okay, there's educational videos, there's like narration videos, there's storytelling videos, and all those, like depending on what you're building, could use a different type of voice to make it more engaging. So I think just giving as many options that seem good on 11 Labs as something we can do in the future, but I think just having a way to toggle them could be good. I'm going to let this run, but one thing I'm going to go look into is the generate file. This one, again, is getting pretty large. It's like 700 lines of code. The one thing I noticed that we could probably do is pull out a parser. So this whole like parser logic is kind of embedded into this. So I may even say, find a way to refactor this so that the argument parsing logic is pulled out to a separate either class or function. You decide, just make it so that it's not, the generate file is not so large. I want to kind of decouple some of the stuff to keep the generate file short and concise and easy to read. So that's one thing we can do. I'll plan that one out. Basically, it'll probably pull out all this error handling with the parsing of the arguments and stuff to another file. Kind of read through this. What's it about to do? Create a dedicated module for CLI argument parsing. Use a function-based module, not a class, since the logic is stateless and functional style matches the existing code base. Okay. So, probably be good. I don't know. Do I want to run this right now while I was trying to generate a video? I might let this finish first and then we'll run the refactoring. I think it's fine. Like it shouldn't kill this existing prompt, but just in case. All right, looks like it's done generating the video. Let's go to outputs and let's go check out that last run and we can watch through it and kind of see how it looks.
Lost in the woods, I stumbled as wind gnawed the pines. Then I encountered a werewolf, silver eyes, claws on bark, breath iced, run, or become the night's hunger.
Okay, so it's not bad. I do think there's going to be a lot of stuff we have to do to tune the script. Like we're probably going to have the custom prompt to really understand how to write engaging storytelling scripts. Because right now, like GPT-5 is not doing a really good job. So I think I'd have to go and spend time figuring out like what makes a good engaging story. And also it depends on the length of the video, right? If I only give it 10 seconds, that's very hard to have an engaging story. But again, that'll be a lot of stuff that I have to kind of do on another video. Again, we're just trying to improve the script, improve the code. Let's just go ahead and run this build and see what it does to the generate file. All the command line arguments are here. So one thing I'm going to look through when I'm reading this is I want to make sure there's not hard-coded values here. Like all the values should be being pulled from somewhere else. So I want to make sure that like, okay, let's check out like theme. Where's theme actually validating? If it is validating at all. Like, is this actually validating? Quality, parse quality, theme. Resolve theme, invalid theme preset. Okay, so it is doing some validation on the theme. Is it doing validation on the model? Doing validation on that parse model. Okay, so it is doing validation on some of the stuff. This is pretty good. This giant for loop with the if statement, I'm guessing there's probably a better way to do this, but I think for right now it kind of gets the job done. And the main goal was to kind of reduce the size of the generate file. So now it's 500 lines of code. I'm going to read through this one more time and just see if there's other stuff that like we could pull out that we might not even need. Format SRT time. Why is this even here? Write SRT file. Build chunks from Whisper. Run. Yeah, so there's still some more stuff in here that I probably would recommend pulling out. I see that we're doing SRT and SRT chunk time and some other things that are inside the generate file. Can you also find a way to just abstract that and pull that out to a separate file so that we can keep the generate file as clean and concise as possible? Build chunks from Whisper. Where is that being used? Video prompts, segments, use cache video prompts, lib SRT. Yeah, I might even like copy some of this stuff for step 5. Also notice in step 5, it seems like there's a lot of custom video logic in here that should probably be pulled out to a separate file. Use your best judgment and pull that out if you think it should be not living in the generate. Again, the generate file is supposed to be like a high-level orchestrator of the flow of the code. It shouldn't actually have implementation details in it. So look through the entire file and find ways to pull those out into separate modules or files to keep this as clean as possible. I'm hoping by the end of this refactoring, I would expect the generate file to maybe be 200 or 300 lines of code max. And I think if we can reach that, then I'm kind of happier with like the refactorings. There's a bunch of hard-coded stuff everywhere, and I'm not sure if I really like this. Okay, refactoring generate into an orchestrator. SRT output paths, run config script, video segments, format SRT time, parse. Okay, we'll try this one out. Again, this is why I like to add. Every step of the way I do an add, so I should probably add those changes before I actually let this modify my code. Just because, you know, a bigger refactoring like this can break your app, and it's nice to just like undo it if you can't get it working again. Alrighty, let's just go ahead and keep all and then read through this. Now the generate is about 350 lines of code. So again, we kind of reached that goal marking I was talking about, the goalpost, how large this file should have been. Is there more stuff in here that we could probably refactor? Absolutely. So again, like you do have to do, you know, a couple of pass-throughs. Like what is this hard-coded string? I'm going to say, I'm noticing some hard-coded strings throughout the generate file, such as the voice ID fallback. And I'll just go ahead and paste in like this. Voice ID should be required in the argument, so there's no reason to even have a fallback. Okay, we'll keep going through. Make sure there's no other like hard-coded things like this import voices.js. Like this is kind of weird. Why is there a await import for voices.js? Let me redo this. Why is there an import like this? You shouldn't do inline await imports. These should just be like imported at the top of the file, and they should be in TypeScript, not JS. Verify nothing in our project is using just JavaScript. It should all be using TypeScript. Okay, I'll go ahead and say like task 2, task 1. I'm going to convert this to a plan mode in a second, but just doing this type of thing also helps. Let's see. Target length seconds, math that round 2.5 words. I don't know what that logic is. Task 3. This hard-coded 2.5 times logic is confusing. I think you should abstract this away to a helper function so it's easier to understand and read. Entering the script. Okay, it's doing some await stuff. Transcript.txt. I don't like how this is hard-coded. I don't like how transcript.txt is kind of hard-coded. Can you look through all my code at any place you see a hard-coded text file? That should be pulled out to some type of configuration file so I can easily change it from one location. And especially if there's multiple duplicated magic strings throughout my code base, you should find a way to pull those out to a centralized configuration. We're going to do a lot of refactoring here. I want to make this code like maintainable. You know, it's like right now it's kind of sloppy. But overall, I mean, I think this is pretty good now. Voice theme. N is equal to math.max 1 of audio duration second minus divided by segment duration segment. So this is how many segments. Again, this is like a weird hard-coded. This could be into a utility function. Right now, it's kind of hard to just read what it does at a glance. Again, anywhere in the code where you're doing like this weird math stuff, it should be a utility function so a human can read through it and understand exactly what it's trying to do without having to read through the code. All right, so there's 5 tasks. I think that's good enough. Let's just run it off and let it do a plan mode. We'll come back and see. I'm going to go ahead and just... I don't know if I should add this. I haven't tested it. So I might just like not add it yet and just let it keep doing some refactoring. Okay, so it's kind of planning out my tasks, trying to refactor a couple things. Let's just go ahead and run it though. I will say also the fact that we have like these separate blocks, like step 1, step 2, I do think maybe this is an opportunity to use like a giant promise chain, so it's easier to see what's going on at a glance, or just even separating these out into separate functions, and we can call these functions sequentially in order. Sometimes it's kind of more complex to do that. Like, is extracting this whole thing to a separate helper function, would it be useful? I don't know. It may make the code easier to read at a glance, but also it may add complexity because then you end up having to like pass around all this stuff as arguments, and like it has to return certain things that are used in the next steps. But we could try kicking that off and just see what it can do for us, because I mean refactoring is super easy and cheap now. But yeah, reading through this, what did it change? There was some hard-coded stuff that was kind of ugly looking. Like before, we're doing like a 2.5 times or something. This one it pulled out compute segment count. Okay, see, so like it's the little things like this that just make your code easier to read. Now you can read through it. Compute segment count, segment insec. Okay. Yeah, I think this is good. Now the very last thing I'm going to try to prompt off is let's make a new agent again. Do plan mode. I'm going to drag the generate. I noticed that we have a giant function that has like a bunch of sections divided by comments. Could you find ways to actually have inline private functions that encapsulate the logic of what's happening instead of having to have a bunch of like comments for us to read through and understand where they're separated? Really utilize helper functions to help clean up the code and just name the functions very well so it's easy at a glance to see what's going on. I think you can just await these because they're all kind of a sequential process and figure out how to pass in the right arguments and return the right thing so you can use them later on in the chain. Okay, so again, we'll kick this plan off and see what it can think it can do to kind of clean it up. But again, this file is, it's like the core logic of all of the generation. And I think just finding a way to make this quickly, easy to read through is just something that would be beneficial to the project's health long term. Even the console logs, like we could probably have a custom logger. So instead of having console logs like all over, which maybe that's for the next video, because we do console logs somewhere else too. So having a designated console logger where we can actually switch to log to the console or to disk, and we can have like log levels. Most production level systems have that, right? So you should probably have that in. But let's read through. This will be the last plan we're going to do in this part of the series. Okay, so this is the final output. This is kind of something nice. So ensure output directories, ensure run config saved, and then load or generate the script, generate text to speech if needed, get audio metadata, load or generate whisper captions, load or generate video prompts, generate video segments if needed, stitch final video. Okay, so this is a much cleaner like run function. It's super simple, 20 lines of code. You can read through that. And splitting these things up into smaller helper functions is definitely a better approach. So I'm going to go ahead and just build this one out. And yeah, these are things you need to be on the lookout for when you're either writing code manually, like this type of approach. If you read the Clean Code book by Uncle Bob, this is the stuff he's kind of talking about, where functions should be small. They should be easy to read. You shouldn't have to scroll and keep scrolling to understand what's going on. At a high level, you should be able to view the overall flow of the code. And that's kind of what I'm prompting it. Okay, so again, we're part 4 in this series, and I've been coding about 30 minutes in every video. So about 2 hours total of coding, and we managed to build out a script that can generate videos, do voice, it can do various different arguments, it can do the text to speech and the captions, and we have code that's actually pretty clean. Now, could you have one prompted this using Claude Code skills? Maybe. I don't really know. You'd have to have a really good skill file that kind of explains clean code and how you want your code set up. But I personally I have the experience, so I really would rather just do an iterative approach, read through the code, and do multiple plans one after each other. I think this is a more engaging approach. You actually understand your code, how it's evolving over time, and you are guiding it to be what you want it to be. If you don't have the experience, then yeah, maybe finding some pre-existing skills and make your code base look a little bit better. But let's just go ahead and keep all and see what we're at now. So now we have a run function, which, let me just find the run called here. And this is the top level thing, which calls all these little helper utility functions down there. So the cool thing about this is you can collapse all these functions and really just focus on the important ones. If you actually go down here, there's usually an outline. I like doing this. If I can actually pull it up, let's see. Okay, I don't know why I can't, like, cursor has some issues. But at least you have like all this stuff split up in the separate internal functions that are kind of easier to handle. All right, so now the moment of truth, we should probably run another generation. I'll do claymation this time. And then we're going to do an educational video about werewolves. A scary or creepy educational video about werewolves. And I'll do a duration of 30 this time. All right, so I've let this sit here for a while and I think it's stuck. It never actually saved video 2 to my segments. And so what I think we need to do in the next part is start doing better error handling. What I would expect right now is a timeout to have either happened or maybe even some type of error to have printed out, but it's just not doing that. I'll let it run for another like 10 or 20 minutes and I'll come back and check. But I think there's an issue and we need to basically allow me to come back and rerun this exact run ID and make sure that it tries to regenerate video 2 because we already have the script. It's just missing the video and they can stitch it all together. So I'm going to put this as a bug. I'm going to paste in this run. I'm going to say, verify that I can come back and run a particular run ID and that it won't try to regenerate all the segments. In this scenario, video 2 never finished. I don't know what happened. I didn't see any errors print out. It just got stuck. And so read through the code that's trying to generate these videos and try to find a more elegant way to make sure that it doesn't get stuck or we actually have some type of timeout for these videos so that we can just stop it and then like rerun it to regenerate that video if we run into an issue. And then also we should be able to run the script, have it regenerate the video and have it finalize the final video without it having to go and regenerate all this stuff, which I do think a bunch of the logic is already in place and not rerun stuff. But I want you to do another take through to make sure that, hey, if a video doesn't correctly generate, it won't try to regenerate every single video. Okay, I will say this in the to-do. I know that's a huge prompt, but we'll come back and try to... It's going to be hard to reproduce this. The next time I run this, maybe it'll work. But I think just having this here could be good. All right, that's about it. Have a good day and happy coding.